I still can't believe it happened. 2 weeks. 14 days of knowing someone. And there I was, sitting in his parents' living room, being introduced as, well, I'm getting ahead of myself. It started at a bookstore. I know, it sounds like something out of a romance novel, but I swear this is exactly how it went down. I was reaching for a copy of Ocean Vuong's On Earth We're Briefly Gorgeous when another hand touched the same spine. Our fingers brushed, and I looked up into these incredibly warm brown eyes that seemed to hold entire universes in them. "Sorry," he said, pulling his hand back with this shy smile that made my stomach flip. "Great taste in literature, though." "Thanks," I managed, suddenly very aware of how close we were standing. "You can have it. I've actually read it before." "No way, you take it." He stepped back, gesturing. "I'm Marcus, by the way." "Daniel." I shook his hand, and there was this moment, this electric pause where neither of us seemed to want to let go. We ended up at the coffee shop next door, talking for 3 hours straight about everything and nothing. He was a graphic designer, freelanced mostly, loved hiking even though he admitted he was terrible at it and always got lost. I told him about my job in marketing, how I'd moved to the city 2 years ago and still felt like I was finding my footing. He laughed at my jokes, really laughed, throwing his head back in this unself-conscious way that made me want to keep making him laugh forever. By the time we exchanged numbers, the barista was giving us looks because they were clearly trying to close. Marcus texted me before I even got home. "Had a really great time. When can I see you again?" I stared at that message for a full 5 minutes, my heart doing acrobatics in my chest. I'd dated before, sure, but nothing that felt like this. Nothing that felt so easy and right and terrifying all at once. We saw each other the next day, and the day after that. And suddenly a week had passed, and I knew his coffee order by heart, knew that he hummed when he was concentrating, knew the exact way his nose crinkled when he found something genuinely funny. We'd spent hours walking through the city, trying new restaurants, sitting on his apartment balcony watching the sunset, and talking about our dreams, our fears, the versions of ourselves we were still learning to be. On day 8, we kissed for the first time. We were on that balcony again, the sky painted in shades of orange and pink, and he'd just finished telling me about how scared he'd been to come out to his family 5 years ago. The vulnerability in his voice, the trust he was placing in me, it made something in my chest crack wide open. I leaned in, and he met me halfway, and it was soft and sweet and perfect. "I really like you, Daniel," he whispered against my lips. "I really like you too," I whispered back, and I meant it with every fiber of my being. Day 10 was when things got interesting. We were lying on his couch, my head on his chest, watching some documentary neither of us were really paying attention to. His phone buzzed, and he picked it up, read the message, and I felt his whole body tense. "Everything okay?" I asked, lifting my head to look at him. He bit his lip, this nervous gesture I was starting to recognize. "My mom wants to know if I'm coming to Sunday dinner this week. It's kind of a family tradition. Everyone gets together. My parents, my sister and her husband, sometimes my aunt." "That sounds nice," I said, settling back down, trying to ignore the small pang of something in my chest. Was he pulling away? Was this the moment he'd realized we were moving too fast? "Daniel," he said, and his voice had this quality to it that made me sit up again. "Would you, this is probably crazy, we've only known each other less than 2 weeks, but would you want to come with me?" I stared at him. "To your family dinner?" "Yeah." He ran his hand through his hair, looking nervous and hopeful and absolutely adorable. "I know it's fast, I know it's probably too much too soon, but I can't stop thinking about you. And my family is this huge part of my life, and I want you there. I want them to meet you. Is that insane?" My heart was pounding so hard I was sure he could hear it. "Marcus, are you sure? What would you even tell them? What am I to you?" He took my hands in his, looked me straight in the eyes. "You're the person I can't wait to talk to every morning. You're the person who makes me laugh harder than anyone else. You're the person I'm falling for, Daniel. Hard and fast and maybe a little recklessly. But I don't care. I want you to meet my family because you're becoming important to me. Really important." I couldn't breathe. Nobody had ever said anything like that to me before. Nobody had ever looked at me the way Marcus was looking at me right then, like I was something precious and worth keeping. Okay, I heard myself say. Yes, I'll come. The smile that broke across his face could have powered the entire city. He pulled me into a kiss that left me dizzy, and for a moment, I forgot to be terrified. The terror came back full force on Sunday afternoon as we stood outside his parents' house. It was a beautiful craftsman-style home in the suburbs with a garden full of flowers and a porch swing that looked like it had witnessed countless family moments. I could hear laughter and voices from inside, and my palms were sweating. "Hey," Marcus said, squeezing my hand, "they're going to love you, I promise." What if they don't? What if they think this is too fast? What if they think I'm some random guy you're bringing around and it makes things weird? He turned to face me fully, both hands on my shoulders. "Daniel, breathe. My family knows I don't do things halfway. When I told my mom I was bringing someone, she was thrilled. My sister has been texting me nonstop asking about you. They want to meet the person who's made me this happy." "I make you happy?" I asked, hating how vulnerable I sounded. "The happiest I've been in a long time," he said simply, and kissed my forehead. We walked in, and immediately I was hit with the smell of something incredible cooking and the sound of people talking over each other in that warm, chaotic way that families do. A woman who had to be Marcus's mother appeared in the hallway, wiping her hands on an apron, and her face lit up when she saw us. "There you are!" she exclaimed, pulling Marcus into a hug before turning to me with the same warm smile. "And you must be Daniel. I'm Patricia, Marcus's mom. Come in, we're so happy you're here." What happened next is something I'll remember for the rest of my life. Marcus didn't hesitate. He didn't fumble or look nervous. He put his hand on the small of my back, guided me into the living room where his family was gathered, and said, clear as day, "Everyone, this is Daniel, my boyfriend. Daniel, this is everyone. My boyfriend." He introduced me as his boyfriend. After 2 weeks, he stood in front of his entire family and claimed me as his. The rush of emotion that hit me was so strong, I had to focus on breathing normally. His sister Sarah was the first to react, jumping up from the couch with a huge grin. "Finally, Marcus has been talking about you non-stop. I'm Sarah, this is my husband Tom. It's so good to meet you." His dad stood up next, a tall man with the same kind eyes as Marcus, and shook my hand firmly. "Welcome, Daniel. Any friend of Marcus is family here." "Boyfriend, Dad," Marcus corrected gently, and I saw his dad's expression soften even more. "Right, boyfriend. Even better. Welcome to the family." I don't think I've ever felt so accepted so quickly. They pulled me into their conversations like I'd always been there. Sarah told embarrassing stories about Marcus as a kid. His mom kept making sure my plate was full. His dad asked about my work with genuine interest. And through it all, Marcus kept his hand in mine, or on my knee, or around my shoulders, these casual touches that said, "You belong here, you belong with me." At one point, I excused myself to the bathroom, needing a moment to process everything. I stared at myself in the mirror, this guy who 2 weeks ago had been reaching for a book, and now was here, in this warm family home, being welcomed with open arms. When I came out, I found Marcus's mom in the kitchen pulling a pie from the oven. "Can I help with anything?" I asked. She smiled at me, that same warm smile Marcus had. "You can keep me company, and call me Patricia, please." I leaned against the counter, watching her work. "Thank you for having me. I know this is probably a bit unusual. Marcus and I haven't known each other very long." She paused, setting the pie down and turning to face me. "Daniel, can I tell you something? I've known my son for 28 years. I've seen him date, I've seen him have crushes, I've seen him fall in and out of like with people. But I have never, not once, seen him look at someone the way he looks at you." My throat tightened. "Really? Really?" When he called to ask if he could bring you, there was something in his voice, joy, pure, uncomplicated joy. That's all a mother wants for her child. She reached out and squeezed my hand. "However long you've known each other doesn't matter. What matters is how you make each other feel. And honey, you make my son happy. That makes you family in my book." I had to blink back tears. "I'm falling for him," I admitted, the words tumbling out before I could stop them. "I'm falling for him so hard, and it scares me because it's so fast and so intense, and I don't know if I'm doing this right." Patricia laughed, a gentle sound full of understanding. "There's no right way to fall in love, Daniel. There's just the way it happens. And from what I can see, it's happening beautifully. When we sat down for dinner, I was placed right next to Marcus, and his family seamlessly included me in every conversation, every joke, every moment. They asked about my family, my interests, my life, and they listened like my answers mattered. Sarah insisted on exchanging numbers so we could plan to get coffee sometime, just the two of us. His dad told me about his woodworking hobby and promised to show me his workshop next time. Next time. They were already assuming there would be a next time. As the evening wound down and we said our goodbyes, Patricia pulled me into a hug. "You're welcome here any time, Daniel, any time at all." In the car on the way back to Marcus's apartment, I was quiet, trying to process everything. Marcus glanced over at me, concern flickering across his face. "You okay? Was it too much? I know my family can be a lot." I shook my head, feeling tears prick at my eyes. "Your mom called me family. Your dad said there would be a next time. Your sister wants to get coffee with me. Marcus, they accepted me, just like that. No questions, no judgment, just acceptance." He pulled over right there on the side of the road and turned to face me. "Daniel, are you crying?" "Maybe," I said, laughing and crying at the same time. "It's just, I've spent so much of my life being afraid. Afraid of being too much, too fast, too open with my feelings. Afraid that if I showed people who I really was, they'd run. And you introduced me as your boyfriend after 2 weeks. You brought me to your family. You didn't hide me or downplay what we are. You were proud, and they were happy for you. For us." Marcus wiped the tears from my cheeks with his thumbs, his own eyes shining. "Of course I'm proud. Daniel, meeting you feels like finding something I didn't even know I was looking for. I know it's fast, I know it's intense, but I've never been more sure of anything in my life. I'm falling in love with you. Actually, I think I'm already there. I love you." The words hung in the air between us, huge and terrifying and absolutely perfect. I'd never said those words to anyone before, had never felt them with this kind of certainty. But looking at Marcus, at this man who had welcomed me into his life with such openness and courage, I knew exactly what I felt. "I love you too," I whispered, and then louder, more certain. "I love you too, Marcus." We kissed there, in his car on the side of the road, and it felt like coming home. When we finally pulled apart, both of us were grinning like idiots. So," he said, starting the car again, "next Sunday dinner. My mom's already planning the menu with you in mind." I laughed, feeling lighter than I had in years. "Next Sunday dinner, and every Sunday after that if you'll have me. Daniel, I plan on having you for a very long time." That was 3 months ago now. I've been to 12 Sunday dinners since then. I've learned that Patricia makes the best apple pie I've ever tasted, that Marcus's dad tells terrible jokes that somehow always make me laugh, that Sarah and I have the same taste in podcasts. I've learned what it feels like to be part of something bigger than myself, to be welcomed into a family that chose to love me simply because I love their son. Marcus and I moved in together last week. It felt right, felt like the natural next step in something that's been feeling natural and right from the very beginning. Sometimes I still can't believe this is my life, that I reached for a book one day and found everything I'd been looking for. People say we move too fast, that you can't really know someone after 2 weeks, that introducing someone to your family that early is reckless. But here's what I've learned. Love doesn't run on a timeline. Connection doesn't wait for permission. And sometimes when you find something real, something true, the bravest thing you can do is hold on tight and let yourself fall. Marcus took that chance on me. He saw something worth keeping, and he didn't hesitate. And in doing so, he taught me how to be brave too, how to be open, how to let myself be loved. So yeah, he invited me to his family dinner after knowing me 2 weeks. He introduced me first, called me his boyfriend without hesitation, and welcomed me into his world with open arms. And I'm so grateful he did, because that dinner wasn't just a meal. It was a beginning, the beginning of us, the beginning of home. Total char count, 16,847.